Welcome to Mental Performance Unleashed with Emily Heird.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to an all-new episode of Mental Performance Unleashed with Emily Heird. She's a licensed psychotherapist and certified mental performance mastery coach. I'm your host, Mike Leon. Emily here has been helping high-performing professionals, especially attorneys, build the mental fitness that fuels clarity, resilience, and sustainable success. And in today's episode, we're going to be talking about what it really takes to think clearly when the pressure is on. Courtroom chaos, leadership decisions that can't wait. Emily will share how to train your mind to stay calm, sharp, strategic, no matter what is happening around you. Hopefully she can do that for my intros and my questions here. Emily, it's so good to see you as always. In your experience, let's talk about this a little bit. What does mental clarity under pressure actually look like for a professional working, whether it be a high stakes environment like law or maybe somebody in corporate leadership?
Thank you, Mike, for having me. I'm thrilled to be here. Yeah, so mental clarity under pressure, for me, that looks like, at the heart of it, having control over your emotional self. In high stakes, high pressure moments, the stress dial gets amped up, which affects our thinking. And really, we need to be able to have an inner state of calm while we think clearly, make decisions, and execute the task at hand.
So let's stay on something you just said there about the stress part of this. So stress is peaking. People oftentimes will say their minds feel maybe some scattered or reactive. What is happening mentally to those folks and physically when that pressure starts the hijack of that pressure starts to focus?
So what's happening from a physical and from a brain perspective when that fight or flight response kicks in? So we have a stressor that we are facing, which is the challenge or the environment that you are in. And then we have the stress response as we face that stressor. So when people's kind of stress overrides their mental clarity, the brain is changing the oxygen flow from our prefrontal cortex, the CEO part of the brain that we want to be in charge, and it's directing more oxygen back to the amygdala, which is the fear center and the emotional center of our brain. So we are not thinking rationally and logically when we feel that stress has hijacked our thinking. We are thinking out of fear or wanting to get out of the situation. So that's from the brain perspective. Then from the physical perspective, our breathing becomes more shallow. We tend to hunch up our shoulders, clench our jaws. We can start to have tension headaches. All this affects the amount of memory that we're able to access, our ability to think through complex problems and problem solve. And that's what's happening in the brain, is that the amygdala is actually in charge.
Just had to unclench my shoulders there for Emily just for a second. So let me ask you, how can someone tell when they've crossed this line from maybe it be productive stress and now they're into this cognitive overload?
So productive stress is going to feel like you are approaching the problem as a challenge rather than a threat. And that will change your physiological response to the stressor itself. It feels like it's an intense focus. You are in the zone, in a flow state. Your inner dialogue is focused on what's next. The self-talk is positive and it is moving you forward in the direction that you want to go. When you are in a state of cognitive overload, this looks like maybe reading the same email 3 times without really comprehending. Decisions start to feel overwhelming. You kind of maybe shut down a little bit in terms of your performance and want to avoid the work that's in front of you. Your self-talk is going to be more negative, thinking like, I don't have enough time, there's too much to do, I can't handle this anymore, might be something that you think. From a physical perspective, sleep might start to deteriorate, or you don't feel as rested even if you've gotten 8 hours of sleep. These are, you wake up feeling tired, coffee doesn't have the same kick that it once had. And these are all signals that your body and your brain aren't recovering from intense periods of stress.
So Emily, let me ask you, let's get to your coaching work specifically.
Mhm.
What are some mental training habits that the professionals out there listening to this can use to stay grounded once the pressure hits?
So the number one most effective and easy to access tool that you can use when the pressure hits is deep breathing. Now, I know a lot of high octane professionals who are going 1,000 miles a minute kind of roll their eyes or scoff at the idea of deep breathing. But if we learn from other professions that have to deal with high pressure situations, whether that's athletes or Navy SEALs, you will notice and observe that they come back to their breath throughout their performance. The reason is, as I mentioned before, when we're in that state of fight or flight, the oxygen is moving away from our prefrontal cortex. When we start deep breathing, it does a number of things. Most importantly, it starts to get oxygen back to our brain, which then puts that prefrontal cortex, that logic, that decision making, impulse control, problem solving part of our brain back in charge. Second, it slows down all of the physiological response that you are having. So it slows down your heart rate, slows down the cortisol and the adrenaline that is coursing through you. So you have a feeling of being more calm and control and grounded in that moment. So deep breathing is the most accessible and your best friend. The second thing that I would recommend is using the power of mental rehearsal or visualization for these high stakes moments. The brain doesn't know the difference between the situation itself and vivid imagery. So if you can mentally rehearse going into that moment in trial or having a boardroom meeting or a difficult conversation with an employee, perhaps, then you are getting in the mental reps. And so when you actually show up in that conversation, you are feeling more prepared and more grounded because you've rehearsed and primed your brain for how you want to operate in that moment.
It's funny that we've talked about this on previous pods about athletes and what they do from a performance standpoint. But what about the pre-performance standpoint, like routines? You always see golfers take practice swings before they actually address the ball and hit it. How can high performing professionals kind of create their own version? You touched on a little bit about the deep breathing, but what can they do in the pre-performance part of this before they actually get to a presentation or a trial?
Excellent question. So I teach my clients to incorporate, essentially three elements into their pre-performance routine. And the trick being, or not the trick, the strategy being that you practice this as part of your daily rehearsal. So athletes, for example, are going to practice their pre-performance routine even in practice so that you get used to the routine itself, but then it also becomes habituated. And so then when you get into that high pressure environment, you're not wondering what your routine is or if it's going to be effective. So I always have them include a deep breath. Second, I have them include some sort of physical component to it. Maybe it is tapping your leg twice, or if you wear a special piece of jewelry that has significance to you, rubbing that a couple times. Athletes, you might see them, connecting with their body in some way. Maybe they clench their fists and release them to get a little bit of that muscle tension away. So deep breathing, something physical, and then coming back to a mantra that you want to ground yourself in, whether that is something as simple as, I belong here, or I'm ready, let's go. Something that you are going to use as that signal to your brain that you are ready for this challenge. And then the other piece, if they want to include it, is some sort of emotional state, whether they want to channel confidence or they want to channel excitement or pride, how they are going to feel after they have finished the performance at hand.
Emily, I want to shift onto the channeling part of this because decision energy is probably limited throughout the day. How can professionals out there that are listening to this, how can they protect their best focus for the moments that truly matter throughout the day?
Yeah, decision fatigue is a real thing. We make tens of thousands of decisions every single day, and this takes away from your cognitive energy. So it's no wonder that by 3 p.m. you're running on fumes, or even there are research studies that show that judges make harsher decisions right before lunch and at the end of the day because their glucose is depleted. So from a decision standpoint, a couple things. We want to make sure that we are managing the energy throughout the day through food and fuel and movement. But the other thing is that we want to be strategic about how we're making decisions. If there are decisions in your day that you can automate or that you can minimize, go ahead and do that. Whether that is wearing similar outfits throughout the week, like Steve Jobs wore the same turtleneck, he's famous for that, or getting lunch set up so that you know what you're eating Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Or so as many of those decisions that you can automate as possible, I recommend going ahead and doing that. From a work perspective, batching the same types of work together are going to eliminate what's called task switching. So you aren't going from a type of decision A over to a type of decision Z. Instead, you are keeping it all together. So maybe that looks like reviewing all documents for a 2-hour period rather than switching between documents and email. You can also create decisions in advance. Like if X happens, then I'll do Y. If this meeting gets canceled this morning, then I will work on Y matter over here. So you are eliminating that decision beforehand. And then another one is to kind of, if something takes 2 minutes, go ahead and do it rather than putting it on your to-do list for later. This prevents working loops, open loops in your mind from having to come back and remind you that something needs to be done.
Yeah. So keep wearing the same black polo and gray jacket. Got it. Okay, Emily. So let me ask you, because, environment plays a big role in performance as well. You see people working remote versus in office. What are some small changes to the workspace or even their schedule that people can make so they start to see this noticeable difference in their mental clarity?
Yes, the environment does have a big impact from an energy standpoint, but also that cognitive bandwidth standpoint. So one thing that I recommend that all of my clients do before they enter their working environment is to take a deep breath, get grounded in setting intentions on who you want to be, how you want to show up that day. We don't want to run into our office in a high state of urgency and already in a stressed out state of being. So calm yourself, set your intention for the day. In terms of the environment itself, really reducing as much visual clutter as possible. So keeping your desk tidy and only having the matter that you're working on in your vision, in your side of vision, closing down extra computer tabs and only having the documents that you are working on. If you can get natural sunlight, highly recommend getting natural sunlight. That's a positive thing for our mental energy. And then really paying attention to the noises that your brain is having to spend cognitive energy on tuning out. So maybe it's that I have a refrigerator in my office that creates a really loud noise that is distracting and irritating. Maybe it's an office mate down the hall who clears their throat very loudly. So setting up the noise environment, earphones can help, and playing music at certain frequencies or even just songs that you like that can play in the background can tune out all the noises that your brain is spending energy on so that you can stay focused and have more mental clarity.
Tune out that person that heated up fish in the microwave in the company break room there. So
That's
Emily,
right.
that's right. So Emily, as we land the plane on this episode, leaders out there, maybe they have this attention where it's constantly being pulled in so many different directions. What's one practice you would leave them with, or you would recommend that they do today to start building this lasting focus?
Well, one practice is going to be setting aside strategic thinking time where they are kind of planning out their time for the day or for the week, or thinking at a high level about items that need to be tackled, decisions that need to be made. This way it's a little bit more proactive rather than constantly reacting to what is being thrown your way and all the different directions that you are being pulled in. And then I'm gonna kind of incorporate a little bit of micro meditation, not in like the woo-woo sense, not in that sense, but meditation being mentally training your brain for focus. So as many times as you need to throughout the day, if you notice that stress getting amped up a little bit, taking a deep breath, coming back in and focusing on the controllables. That's meditation and mindfulness in and of itself. And doing that repeatedly throughout the day is going to help you stay calm when you're being pulled in many different directions.
Emily, thank you for the time and insights on this today. We truly appreciate it.
Thank you.
And that's it for today's episode of Mental Performance Unleashed with Emily Heird. If you want to learn more about how Emily helps high-performing professionals strengthen their mental fitness, do me a favor, visit vantageviewcoaching.com today. Don't forget to like, subscribe, leave a comment or review, or share this episode with someone who needs to hear it. As always, I'm Mike Leon. We'll see everybody next time.
Thanks for watching. Be sure to hit that like and subscribe button and leave us a review in the comments.